Legacy After the Locker Room with Caleb Bradham. Welcome.
Hey, Matt, good afternoon. Welcome to Legacy After the Locker Room. And
Thank
we
you.
have
Thank
a
you.
great show for you this afternoon. Matt Lawrence, number 32 of the Baltimore Ravens, founder of Lawrence International, one of the greatest movers and shakers in sports philanthropy that I'm seeing today. Matt, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm so glad you're here, and we've been talking over the last few months about all of the work you're doing. We tried to record this podcast a couple of months ago, and the Wi-Fi was wonky, so here we are doing it again. I
Hey,
guess I
listen,
just
we're
want
gonna get to it.
to I want to start with where we left off the last time, and for our listeners, just let's recap just a little bit, Matt. Getting
Sure.
started in football. So this little boy, you knew you wanted to play football. You didn't know you wanted to play football. Share your experience with us.
Sure. Sure. Listen, and this is for all the young parents or the parents with young kids and the young kids as well. So this is totally relatable. I was 9 years old when I started to play football. It was on TV. Super excited. I want to get out there, get in the mix. What happened was once I got out there, it was not my favorite. So, just with any sport, you have to do push-ups and conditioning. And I wasn't a fan of hard work at all. And so, we got out there, we ran a few laps, did some push-ups, some sit-ups. And I remember coming home after that first day, it was the first time I had did organized sports. And I was so sore. I told my dad, I never want to play this sport again, like ever. He said, son, let me tell you, we don't quit here. You can quit next year after you're done. But as far as this year, you have to ride the season out and play through the season. And I must have cried the whole week. I'm sure I did. Right. And after the first week, once the soreness gets away, like once you realize you can act to be in your mind, I loved it. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Football was fun. I made friends. You have a lot of fun playing the sport. You're learning new things, new skills. And long story short, as you heard in the intro, NFL, here we come. So, had I quit, had my dad let me quit, had I given in to, my mind at the time, there would be no NFL, no, touchdowns and all of the great things that football has helped me do, there would have been none of that. So that's how I started my career off.
And I think it's so interesting. I think it's on your Twitter account where you say that your motto is strengthening lives one life at a time, right? Who who was it that really strengthened you, Matt, and gave you that push to get you to the NFL? Was it your parents? Was it a coach?
Sure. Yeah, it was, it's a village. My parents were strong, strong parents, they had drive. They had tremendous drive, tremendous vision, tremendous just wherewithal. They pushed me to be able the best that I could. And with a great balance, right? It's not all just right. A drill sergeant, they knew their child. They knew what I could handle and they pushed me so that I could be able to achieve, so I could be able to do the things that I dreamed of because everybody has dreams, right? And so when you see your child, whether it's a child, a friend, anybody else, a coworker, you can see the potential and you want them to get that out of it. So my parents they started me off. They knew that they couldn't teach me everything about football, right? And so we had great coaches who about the game, and throughout the years of coaches and the community of football, of the parents, we had there were so many people that helped strengthen me, and that's why we say we strengthen one kid at a time, one community at a time, because it is in the community that we all will get better, that the community gets better, and we all win from it.
Yeah, and I think that's so great when you say that and you say, everybody has dreams. So your dream, number one, the NFL, number two, building a stronger community. You're doing so much work. And first of all, I just really want to shout out the Ravens Nation. And, and I've said this to you multiple times. When I take a look at the fan base and the support of the Baltimore Ravens fans, I'm blown away. So first of all, shout out to all you Baltimore Ravens, Ravens Nations fans out there.
Yes.
Matt, let's talk about your dream for giving back to the community. After the NFL, you and your wife start a youth ministry, have a couple of kids, you're an ordained minister. And I mean, I love that story, and feel free to touch on that. But also, let's talk about what you're doing with Lawrence International, okay?
Yeah. So I mean, right after football, it was, it was right in the youth ministry. I mean, right in, like we didn't take a break. It was right in the youth ministry. We wanted to help out at our local church. We believe the church is our community. It's the community, and all things come from it. So we wanted to make sure that we really poured into individuals who would strengthen that community. And obviously, you strengthen the communities by pouring into the youth. And so we started right there. We started by, assisting and getting our feet wet, and primarily high school. And we said, we want these kids to understand that they could really achieve their goals. We wanted them to understand about his mission, and how he's the savior, and how he could, he's the like the captain of our team. Like, and his mission while he was on earth was to save. And so preach and teach and baptize those was his last commission, and that's what we set out to do, plain and simple. And we did that, and I think 2 years in, we became leaders and youth leaders, and we just want to grow the community. We grew the group. I think we were at 60 kids or something like that weekly. To get 60 high schoolers into church on a Tuesday night. We didn't realize how big it was until the popularity came, and people were like, "Wow, you have a lot of kids," and I'm used to 100,000 on Sundays. So I said, "Well, we have a little bit more to go." So, but we just keep pushing. We keep pushing to spread the word. After youth ministry, my wife and I, we did marriage ministry and pouring into marriages, and then the first daughter, we said, let's try something new. I guess I should say some nonprofit stuff, which translated into Lawrence International. And we said it was going to be, something so the kids can really get something out of it. And that's how it started. And now we are doing our thing. We're servicing about 300 kids a year. What I like to say, the elevator pitch is, we focus on community enhancement with an emphasis on youth development, middle school, high school, and we support that college, that college age, that right out of high school age. We support them to get them on track so they can achieve their dreams and goals. We stand on 4 pillars: educational enhancement, health, and athletic achievement. So those are our pillars. We thrive off of those pillars, and we thrive off of young men and women achieving their goals and their dreams.
And Matt, you have some amazing sponsors who are helping you with that. And I think, in all fairness, let's shout out those sponsors, because without them, we know how hard it is to make things work the right way. So go ahead and shout out your sponsors.
So we have a ton of great sponsors. It takes a village, and at the highest level, right? It takes a village. People have to buy in. And thank you to Coca-Cola is our sponsor. We have Ocean Club West, Grace Bay Club, the Shore Club, and Turks and Caicos. They're our sponsors. Lululemon, right? Lululemon's our sponsor. Lush Cosmetics, CoverGirl. These are our very important sponsors, and we cannot leave out who is. We just signed with a big deal for next year, 2021, to take on 300 additional kids of the Atlas Group here in Baltimore, Maryland. They are doing phenomenal things, and they're committed. And just like that, and all of those different youth grow here in Baltimore and around the world. So we definitely don't want to leave out any people who have poured into us. Oh, and listen, we're in Baltimore, and you definitely can't leave out Under Armour, right? They are the pillar of Baltimore. They've helped us on numerous occasions get things done, like as far as events, fundraisers, apparel for the young men and women. They are doing things on another level, and we just can't wait to continue helping young kids.
Matt, I think that's great. Speaking of sponsors, just want to remind our listeners, you're listening to the Legacy After the Locker Room podcast, powered by Stables Media, shouting out our sponsor, Vidget. Vidget is the mobile app for the Social Sports Network. If you'd like to download it for free, use promo code Stables. We're here today with Matt Lawrence, veteran of the Baltimore Ravens, with his foundation, Lawrence International. Matt, we talked about the 4 pillars, and one of the things that really stands out to me is the work you did with the young men, thanks to the Sheraton. Share with our listeners a little bit about what that event did and really how you're making a difference in those young men's lives, please.
Okay, great. So the Four Seasons. So the Four Seasons and the Atlas Group, right? So the Atlas Group is one of our sponsors, who I mentioned. I reached out to them and said, "This is what I want to do. I want to pour into about 30 young men from the west side of Baltimore. West side of Baltimore, it's a rough area. A lot of drugs, a lot of crime, a lot of poverty, right? But drugs, crime, and poverty are not all that makes up individuals, us, right? There's life, there's hope, and these are certain things that we shouldn't even have to explain. But sometimes people get portrayed as a certain thing or acting a certain way, and it's just not that. And so what we want to do is dispel all of those stereotypes. And a few kids started the movement over there. Fabulous. I really love the excitement. Long story short, I went over to the school to meet with some of the young men who had won a contest of ours, a giveaway. They were super excited, but they really got on board. They told their classmates about it, and then their classmates started to get on board, and they all happened to be part of the basketball team. And so I said, you know what, this is amazing. Let's do something special. Called my friends at the Four Seasons, called my friends at the Atlas Group, and I said, we're going to have a leadership development summit. We're going to pour into these young men, right, as professionals and professional athletes from around Baltimore and from around Maryland. And we're going to have a panel for these young men. And we're going to talk about success. We're going to talk about leadership and what it means to achieve those in the big terms, right? Because that's what we all want to do, achieve our big goals. But how do you reach those? What tangible steps can you take to reach those? And so we rounded up the young men, we rounded up the professionals, and we made it a date. The Ravens helped us out so much. They made gift bags for the young men. The sharp dressed, what we like to say, well, in the NFL world, we like to say, listen, if you look good, you play good. So we got all the young men, suits, ties, and the whole kit and caboodle. And we had a fabulous leadership development summit on the 28th floor of the Four Seasons, overlooking the Baltimore Harbor. It was amazing. The kids were amazing. They blew everybody's expectations out of the water. I definitely know from the feedback from some of our professionals that by just how really exquisite they were. And that's something that we have to dispel. We're not going to be surprised anymore by our young men and women being exceptional. They already are. And that's something that I love to pour into them and tell them. I say, listen, we are treating you how everyone should already be treating you. If they're not treating you like this, that's a mistake. That's on them. That's not on you. This is who you are. This is your greatness. Now live in it.
And Matt, one thing that I really respect about that is we definitely need to be pouring into these young men, but you're not stopping there. You're reaching out to the young women. You're creating side-by-side platforms for the girls. You have 2 daughters. You know.
Hello. Yes.
Tell us a
Listen.
little bit about the work you're doing with the young ladies as well, please.
So next year, okay, so I was all heavy, young men, I'm a guy, right? Young men, we're gonna pour into our young men, make sure these young men are everything, make sure they know they're important. And then what happens? I have 2 daughters, right? And then I'm like, time out. How are we gonna get these young ladies? Because I need my young ladies to know that they're the best thing to ever walk the earth, right? I need them to know that. But not just my daughters, I need everyone's daughters to know that. So how can we make that happen? So we reached out. I said we want to kind of continue this same theme for leadership development. You know, 2020. Listen, girls. The girls run the world. Like that is it. It's the we wanted to kind of live in that theme and live in that greatness. And so we called our friends at the Pendry Hotel down here at Fells Point in Baltimore. We called Lululemon, Lush Cosmetics, CoverGirl, and we're going to have a leadership development like none other.